Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network investigating. What are these wiretaps that the New York Times is talking about? You know, I know they want to focus on Donald Trump and his tweet. I want to focus on America and the Constitution. The reason I got fed up with this last week is I'm a constitutional conservative. I look at this. If I'm reading these news reports, we have a runaway executive branch. I don't know who knows what. And as of today, the media don't appear to know who knows what, which is exactly why I've been calling for congressional investigations. The question is, why aren't CNN, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, and all the rest of them, why aren't they concerned about this?
Mark,
rather than mock the president and his tweet, pay attention to what your own reporters and other reporters are saying.
So what you say is really deep and profound here, and I want to put some emphasis on this, and that is that the news media reported the leaks, the news media reported the surveillance, they reported it repeatedly. This is the mainstream media. As far as I know, they've never retracted the story, and everybody knew about it. It was not something that was hidden. Now, in fact, Donald Trump mentions that, in fact, it happened, and somehow this is, oh my gosh, this is outrageous. What do we, how do we definitively find out that, in fact, in June and again in October, there were attempts to surveil the then candidate of the opposition party by the current administration at the time, the Obama administration?
Well, two things need to happen one way or another. Number one, the FISA applications, which Clapper denies, by the way. He denies, and the follow-up was pathetic over there at NBC, but we'll get to that. The FISA applications should be released. That's number one. The warrant that was supposedly secured in October should be released. The other thing that needs to be done is these daily presidential briefings that the president received, that the intelligence agencies and law enforcement agencies coordinate on and prepare. The Intelligence Committee chairmen need to read them. And now we'll get to the bottom of this. Now, I find it very interesting. People are saying, well, let Trump release the damn FISA stuff. Can you imagine if he does that? He'd be accused of interfering with investigations, trying to intimidate the Justice Department. No. Let Congress finally step up and do its job. They have oversight committees. We pay these people to do their jobs. Now get into those damn FISA applications. Look at the so-called warrant. Hold on now. Yeah. Look at the warrant that was released. Look at these daily briefings, and let's see what's in them.
All right, great one. We miss having you on. Stay right there. We're going to keep you while we got you. All right, more with the great one, Mark Levin, right after the break. Also tonight, Jay Sekulow, former NSA intelligence official. He actually created this very law. We'll get into that. They're here to react to President Trump and his wiretapping accusations. Also tonight, Republicans now trying to make good on their promise to repeal and replace Obamacare. Earlier this evening, GOP lawmakers unveiled their plan to dismantle this disastrous health care law, at least the parameters of which they're going to work. Congressman Louis Gohmert of Texas and North Carolina Congressman Mark Meadows will join us with reaction. That and more, and a new executive order has been released by the president today. Straight ahead.
This program is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Liberty stands with you.
I can't speak officially anymore, but I will say that for the part of the national security apparatus that I oversaw as DNI, there was no such wiretap activity mounted against the president-elect at the time, or as a candidate, or against his campaign. I can't speak for other Title III authorized entities in the government or a state or local entity.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if the FBI, for instance, had a FISA court order of some sort for a surveillance, would that be information you would know or not know?
Yes.
You would be told this?
I would know that.
If there was a FISA court order
Yes.
on something like this?
Something like this, absolutely.
And at this point, you can't confirm or deny whether that exists?
I can deny it.
Well, wait a minute. He's contradicting himself. Former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, yesterday on Meet the Press. We continue with the great one, Mark Levin, from his TV studio in Virginia. You know, so Obama gives a statement that says they didn't order it. Doesn't mean he doesn't know it. Clapper puts out all these caveats here. Well, the part I oversaw, I can't speak officially.
Let me
Go ahead.
Let me take it differently. I accept everything that James Clapper said, and it contradicts every piece of significant reporting over the last 6 months. If he's saying there was no FISA application, there was no FISA warrant, then why have so many news entities said that there are? That's number one. And number two, why didn't Chuck Todd have Mr. Clapper on weeks ago, before I did my radio show, before Donald Trump tweeted? Why didn't he have him on weeks ago to disclaim that this FISA court stuff was hanging out there? Let me explain something where we are here, Sean. They're all pivoting, including the media. They were trying to present the case of overwhelming connections, overwhelming concern, overwhelming potential evidence of Trump and the campaign involved with the Russians. Now it's, wait a minute, no. Because I say these are police state tactics. Look at all this. You have no basis for all these investigations. Now they're saying, wait a minute, we didn't have a FISA warrant. We didn't do these wiretaps, eavesdropping, electronic surveillance. Now the media are completely confounded. Chuck Todd said, I got him now. I got the Trump guys now. And I'm by the way, I endorsed Cruz, just so the libs know, during the Republican primaries. And I want our president to succeed. This is about the Constitution.
Well, you also voted for Trump. You told your audience. I think
absolutely.
That's right.
So which is it? Which is it? Were there FISA warrants or not? Now, if there weren't, why didn't you report that weeks ago? If there are, some of us would like to see them. So we have a real problem right now. The media is turning on the media. We have leaks coming out that are felonies. We have stories about 6 federal departments and agencies, intelligence and law enforcement, that were investigating something, somebody, by somehow. So what's the answer? That's why we need to get to the bottom of this.
Mark,
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead. You be the host.
Why all the investigations? Is there any evidence? Was there
Mark,
any
this is
evidence, scintilla of evidence? Hold on, I just need to finish my sentence. Was there any evidence, a scintilla of evidence at all, that Trump, his campaign advisors,
None.
and his transition
None.
team were on the tape?
None.
Okay. Then why are 6 federal departments and agencies involved in an investigation, and now Clapper says he doesn't know anything?
This is profound for a lot of different ways, because we're talking about Fourth Amendment protections, First Amendment protections, Fifth Amendment protections, Sixth Amendment protections. There's so many, and the question that every American needs to know.
Now, we're talking about police state tactics.
I understand. And
by an executive branch,
all of that is
potentially.
true. Because if they can do what they did to Michael Flynn, General Flynn, and that is here, whenever they have every right to go after a Russian ambassador. But the law, the Espionage Act is clear that if they hear and identify an American on that line, they are not allowed to tape that American, and they're supposed to follow a process called minimization. Why does this matter? Because this is unreasonable search and seizure. And if they can do it to a presidential candidate, right? Now, either they did it or they didn't. Now, if they didn't do it, then that means the New York Times owes the country an apology. That means every major newspaper and every major network owes the American people an apology, right?
Here's the New York Times, January 20th. Wiretap data used in inquiry of Trump aides. You wrote this earlier. One paragraph, please. The FBI is leading the investigations, aided by the National Security Agency, the CIA, the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Unit. More. The investigators have accelerated their effort. This is on inauguration morning, front page above the fold. The investigators have accelerated their efforts in recent weeks, but have found no conclusive evidence of wrongdoing, the official said. One official said, listen to this, intelligence reports based on some of the wiretap communications have been provided to the White House. Now, I didn't write that. You didn't write that. I asked Mr. Clapper. The FBI's leading an investigation. Did you know about that, sir? Aided by the NSA. Did you know about that, sir? And the CIA. Did you know about that, sir? And the Treasury Department. Did you know about that, sir? Did you know that one official said intelligence reports based on some of the wiretap communications have been provided to the White House? Did you know about that? And Chuck Todd, why didn't you ask him these questions? That's my question. Why are the media so lackadaisical and not curious?
You know, because you put all this together and you made such a compelling prosecutorial case here that it can't be argued intelligently because it's either one or the other. But then you get attacked by these little pipsqueaks on television. Let's go to one example.
There's a lot.
What does the White House gain by the president, by Steve Bannon most likely handing the president of the United States a Breitbart article and talking about what a rabid right-wing talk show host has been theorizing?
Liberal Joe is calling you a rabid right-wing host, Mark.
Well, he's a chameleon. But let me just say this, Joe. Here's what I do know. You remember the movie Deliverance? The guy with the guitar on the bridge? Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah.
Joe's the splitting image, isn't he? Yes, he's the splitting image.
Okay. Listen, I got to go. I'm out of TV. Will you come on the show more often? Because if I don't pressure you publicly, you won't come on. You're invited on all the time. You're one of my best friends, and you never come on the show. Tell the audience why.
We got Levin TV right here, baby. CRTV.
You can still come on the show.
I'll come on more often.
All right. Great one.
Yes,
by the way, there's a reason I call you the great one. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you.
You too.
Very compelling. Coming up next, more reaction to President Trump's claim that he was wiretapped by the Obama administration. Jay Sekulow, Bill Binney, a former NSA intelligence official, will join us next. Also, two Republican lawmakers, Congressman Louis Gohmert and Mark Meadows, will join us on the Obamacare replacement plan, at least the outline of it, straight ahead.
Right now at VisionWorks, take an additional $50 off our BOGO offer. target. I need a target.
The President's been very clear, as we've stated, that I think there's enough there that we want the House and Senate Intelligence to use the resources they do to make sure that they look into this matter. I mean, there's some, anyway, I do not want to get ahead of where they may go with this or what they may look at, but I'm going to leave it to them. If we start down the rabbit hole of discussing some of this stuff, I think that we end up in a very difficult place.
That was White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer earlier today talking about President Trump's wiretapping claims. Joining us now from the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow is back with us. Former intelligence official at the National Security Agent Bill Binney is with us. Jay, let me go back to my monologue. I thought Mark did a really good job of breaking down the media report of this. This is the liberal media. But let's get back to deep state, shadow government, and the fact that you have all these Obama holdovers. You have 500 people that need to be confirmed. The majority, only last week did we get Carson and Rick Perry, and all these people, all these lifetime bureaucrats, and now all these intelligence leaks. All of them are a felony, are they not?
They are a felony, and you've got basically unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats deep within the government. We called it, and you correctly said it, as shadow government. And these bureaucrats are not in lockstep at all with this administration. In fact, they're counter to it. So in their view, they're saving the country because they're going to oppose the president. So then you have the leaks. And I think the most telling aspect of this, Sean, something you and I have talked about several times, and that is 17 days before President Obama leaves office. 17 days before he leaves office. He'd been in office almost eight full years. He changes the way in which signal intel is distributed. It used to just go, since the Reagan era, it used to just go to the NSA. They would decide where the raw data would go. And he changes it with 17 days left so that the 17 additional agencies get it, which of course makes it much more difficult to determine who is engaged in the leaks. But what's getting lost in this entire discussion, and that's what I think we have to focus on, is that this information is being leaked.
It's being leaked, and it's leaked selectively, and like in the case of General Flynn, things that should never have been leaked and never have been. This is unprecedented. Bill Binney, didn't you help write this 78 FISA law?
No, I didn't. I didn't have anything to do with that law. So I was fairly familiar with it when I was in NSA.
Okay,
though.
and you served for 32 years. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I thought I read that earlier today. Yeah. But for 32 years, and then you retired. Why?
I retired in October 2001 because they started spying on everybody in the United States. All the U.S. citizens. That was the bulk data collection of metadata. That was what the Second Circuit Court of Appeals ruled illegal.
In other words,
just in 2015.
It's your belief that every American citizen, that all of this data, all of our cell phone calls, all of our text messages, and all of our emails, it is your belief, and one of the reasons you retired, because you could not live with this any longer, is that every American, that all of this is being saved and stored?
That's correct. And that's also what I put in a sworn affidavit for the Jewel versus NSA lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of this collection.
Well, I mean, I find this pretty, here you are, a highly placed NSA official, then become a whistleblower, From what I understood, you were the architect of the NSA surveillance program in some way, so maybe I misspoke in exactly what I was saying. But so you're saying that even today, that would mean, by the way, that James Clapper committed perjury because he said it wasn't happening. Did he commit perjury in your view?
He was talking about he was talking about a FISA court order. This is all this collection is being done under Executive Order 12333.
No, well,
Section 23C.
Yeah, but he also said the Director Clapper actually testified that there was not bulk data collections, and then had to correct his testimony when the WikiLeaks information came out. So this is not exactly the most credible source.
Jay, what laws do you believe are broken?
That's true.
What laws do you believe are broken here?
Well, I mean, I think, look, anytime you're sharing national security information or classified information, you're talking about, espionage. I mean, this is the stuff that
this is the
movies
Espionage
are made
Act
out of,
we're talking
except they're
about.
felonies.
In other words, what they released on General Flynn was a violation of the Espionage Act.
Correct, a violation of the Espionage Act, and every time they did it, by the way, it was a violation. It's not just one time. So you're talking about multiple felonies. You're talking about what needs to be taking place right now, and I have complete confidence in Attorney General Sessions, and that is an investigation not done the way Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch did it, by actually impaneling a grand jury, getting subpoena power, find out who leaked the information, prosecute them to the full extent of the law.
And you believe, as
if
I
they're
do,
found guilty, they pay the penalty.
when they expanded Executive Order 12333 in the final 2 weeks of Obama's administration, that was done to make it more difficult to identify those people who they knew would be leaking?
Sure.
What other reason would they do it?
Well, that's the only reason, because what it did was it took a very small pool of people and increased it 17-fold. So it makes it much more difficult, but it doesn't make it impossible. And to prevent a constitutional showdown, to prevent a constitutional crisis, the Attorney General knows what he needs to do.
So you believe there's the shadow government. So if Donald Trump is wrong,
what you have here is the leaking of classified information. It's a felony.
So if Donald Trump, real quick, is wrong, that would mean that the New York Times was wrong. That would mean that McClatchy was wrong. That would mean that
the president to release information, Sean, are making. He can. If there's an ongoing investigation, the president should be giving information out. That, I think, would be inappropriate. I think turning over to Congress, the president.
And the statement of the president this weekend, the former president, was meaningless when he said he didn't direct it. All right, Bill Binney, let me go back to you. What Executive Order 12333? It was revised in the final 2 weeks of the Obama presidency, as you know. But you believe it is that executive order, EO 12333. You believe it is that executive order that allows our government to literally wiretap and metadata store every phone call of every citizen, every text, every email? That's your belief? That's happening?
It's actually Section 23C that actually says if you have the intent to find a drug dealer, for example, in a 64 fiber line or a 10 gigabit line, if you believe there's a drug dealer in there, you can go in and collect all the data on the line, store it, mine it, and do whatever you want to with it, and preserve it. Even though the vast, say 99.999% of it is domestic communications.
Unbelievable. All right.
I mean, this is nothing new. This has been going on for a long time. I mean, even...
so every phone conversation I have in my life, do you believe has been taped?
Without warrants, yes, that's right. And also, Adrian Kinney and David Murphy Falk were transcribers down at Fort Gordon, Georgia. Their testimonies on the web, where they were transcribing phone calls between U.S. citizens and NGOs with no warrant whatsoever. And this has been going on, for years.
We better get to the bottom of this. All right. Thank you all for being with us. Appreciate it. We got a long way to go here. And by the way, you won't hear this on the major networks. I can't wait for the New York Times to apologize or to confirm their original reports. Coming up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
I am also calling on this Congress to repeal and replace Obamacare.
The president promising that he would repeal and replace Obamacare. Tonight, congressional Republicans have released their plan to do just that. Up next, two Republican lawmakers, Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert, North Carolina Congressman Mark Meadows, are here with reaction. Later, Matt and Mercedes Schlapp join us. That's all straight ahead.
Keatsa presents How to Win at Business. Step 1. Point decisively with the...
need a target. I don't have a target.
Welcome back to Hannity. So President Trump promised you, the American people, if elected, he will repeal and replace Obamacare. And earlier tonight, the House GOP released their plan to do just that. On this program, we have been pushing a brand new replacement plan, and we have pledged to hold Washington and Republicans accountable. And that's what we're doing again tonight. Here now, two members of the Freedom Caucus, Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert and North Carolina Congressman Mark Meadows. I know that Jim Jordan and Dave Bratt have been very critical of the bill. It's 123 pages. I got an outline of these things. I think the first thing we've got to say is this bill is going to have amendments, correct? So we all agree that this bill is going to change. Congressman Meadows?
I sure hope so.
Well, tell us what your major criticisms are.
I don't have a target.
You know,
Well,
I think...
okay.
Mark?
Go ahead, Mark.
I think, Sean, probably the biggest thing that I see is certainly we're making progress, and I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the fact that some of the taxes that were in the initial version have been eliminated, and so we can applaud
the
that.
Cadillac tax,
but really, when we're
for example.
Exactly, but we don't really get rid of the Cadillac tax altogether. It's still in there. It just comes back in 8 years. And so we really need to look at some amendments to make sure that we get rid of the taxes. We put something on President Obama's desk just a few months ago, and to suggest that what we put on President Trump's desk, you know, sets a new entitlement, keeps some taxes, doesn't repeal all of Obamacare. We've got to do better, and hopefully with some amendments we can do that.
Let me ask specifically about it doesn't repeal completely, because I asked a lot of people about this today, and some people are saying they should pass the 2015 bill, which would be a complete repeal, and then come in with the replacement. And then they say because they're using reconciliation, which was the means by which it was passed, that they have to do it because you only need 51 votes in the Senate versus 60. Any merit to that argument?
I mean, certainly when you look at the reconciliation process and you look at 51 votes, that is one of the hurdles that we have. But,
in the Senate,
you know, This doesn't even go as far as we went in 2015 to repeal, you know, all the Medicaid expansion. It still keeps that. And so as we're looking at that, we've got to find that sweet spot. One of the concerns I have, the biggest concern I have, will it lower health care costs and premiums to those people that I serve and that Louis serves, and really to the Americans that are watching tonight? Will it actually lower health care costs?
Louis?
And until we get that answer, we've got to hold out judgment.
Health savings accounts are a part of it. Are there also, for example, there's this guy in Wichita, Kansas that I often have on my radio show, Josh Umber with Atlas Medical. He created a cooperative in his city where you get all the medical care unlimited, $50 a month as an adult, $10 a month as a child. He negotiates directly with pharmaceutical companies. He brings the 90% of the cost that goes away. And a lot of good things have happened. For example, there are good things in this bill. For example, they're blocking funds from abortion providers, Planned Parenthood, for example. You are upset with what parts?
Well, like Mark mentioned, we left the Cadillac tax in there. It just comes back. But then it creates a new entitlement program, and I've already heard from some constituents upset about you're creating another entitlement program.
You are no match for the
tax credits that we actually send people checks, and I guess it's another way to do the subsidy. But another concern.
So what would be the antidote to that, Louis? What would you prefer?
Well, I'd prefer that we bring the prices down adequately so that more people can get health insurance. But, you know, you talk about these entrepreneurial ways of getting insurance. If we don't repeal the McCarran-Ferguson exemption from antitrust, then these brilliant entrepreneurial, other new plans, they're going to be shut out. So we've got to get that done, and it needs to be done separately. But another thing, we are going to force citizens, it looks like, to end up paying for people's health care that are illegally here. We put in here, we're going to check their ID to get insurance, but not to get health care.
What we know, the left's arguments, they're predictable. Every election season, Republicans are racist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic, Islamophobic. So they're going to say, what about the poor people that can't afford any health care? What are we going to do with that?
Well, they're going to get that
what's your
states.
Answer, Mark?
Yeah, Sean, we really do need to look at the safety net, and when we're there, when we're really looking at that Medicaid expansion part of it, we've got to make sure that we're there. This goes beyond that, and I think the other aspect of that, you mentioned health savings account. One of the amendments I hope that the president supports, and certainly that we'll be offering, is really to look to expand the use of health savings account like Dr. Rand Paul has talked about.
I like that idea a lot.
Even though there's a provision in there, it makes it tough.
So it's not in there as completely as you'd want it? Because that surprises me.
Well, it's not in there in terms of any of the subsidies, Sean, that go into it actually can't go to funding the health savings account. They actually have to go to purchase insurance. If you have that flexibility where you can actually put it in a health savings account, give actually patients more control over their dollars, then ultimately it helps.
Ultimately, and it puts a cap on how much you can put in health savings account. We need to get rid of that, and we shouldn't be penalizing states that didn't expand Medicaid.
I may come down to Washington and try and get a group of you guys on all sides in a room and see if we can't do an hour and let the American people hear every detail of this so it doesn't become like you got to pass it to find out what's in it. Which, by the way, to their credit, they released the bill. All right, thank you both for being with us.
I agree with that.
We got time.
All right, and there will be amendments. This is going to evolve. But I got to go. I'm late. More reaction to the GOP's health care plan. Matt and Mercedes Schlapp next.
News Bros, what's your turn?
What do you guys
think?
People love progressives. Name your price to.
Look to the skies.